So glad you guys hopped on here. I'm going to jump right back into what I was just saying before we start recording. The most fascinating thing about doing someone else's team call, just giving a short, it was supposed to be like 10 minutes. I think it turned into 20 minutes. She kept encouraging me to keep going, and that's always a bad idea unless you really want to keep going, because I got a lot to say. I usually joke around and say, I can't even say hello in 5 minutes. So hello, everybody. Anyway, in the process of telling my story, I got off of that call, and I told Jetty the thing that resonated with me the strongest. First of all, I am a verbal processor. I think that's why these calls usually last long, because I'm even like realizing things myself as I talk. I know that sounds really strange, but if you have that same tendency, you'll get what I'm saying, where it's almost always in a conversation. Sometimes, usually when I'm actually the one talking, which is super weird, that I have realizations, like I connect dots in my head. And that was happening to me yesterday. But one thing that really stood out to me on Jennifer's call was how many people that were listening had no idea. First of all, they didn't know my story. And they were asking questions in the chat, like, what product is she talking about? And I was like, what is happening? Like, that is nobody's fault except for everybody's fault. Like, where I'm saying that has nothing to do with Jennifer, because literally, if we had 50 people on this call tonight, half the people on here, I feel pretty sure, you guys, that most of you that are on here tonight might be like, know that story. I know the product she's talking about. I've been around for 8 years or whatever. But people who have not been around for 8 years, we have lost our swim through the stories. We've quit telling our stories. We got scared by some scary letters that said, simmer down with using those medical terms. But I want to tell you something. There's two topics I really want to hit on tonight. One is about sharing our stories again, and bravely, creatively and bravely. If there are ways that you can tell your story without alerting the powers that be that you're using all the wrong words. Okay. Like, you can use words besides, say, arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. You can describe the kind of pain and where it was. And honestly, a lot of people have that pain and have never been diagnosed anyway. And it would resonate stronger with them, the fact that they go, oh, I have that, than it might with a person who, I'm saying it might resonate as strongly with someone who's never been diagnosed. And I think that's pretty important and relevant to think about. So, creatively telling your story without too much like the hint of anxiety behind it or whatever, which has been around for a while, ever since, because you remember it was a free-for-all when we first started, and literally I felt like I was walking around with a magic wand. You get a probio, and you get a probio, and you get a probio. Everybody's well now. You no longer have this disease, this disease, this disease. Nobody can diagnose anybody now because the symptoms are gone. And how do you diagnose someone without the symptoms? And here we go. And then little by little, we trickled away from that. And there's two cautionary things here. One thing is, the more we talk medicinal, the more people don't understand us. Okay. The more we use sciencey terms, first of all, these days, the less people would actually probably trust us, because come on now, if you watch my recent live that I just did on my wall, I'm beginning to question everything that calls itself science. So people trust stories though. And if you don't really believe me, I did a what am I trying to say? First of all, let me say, I want to bounce around a little bit here. I did I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to say this. If you talk medicinal very much, people are worried that they couldn't do this business because it's too medicinal. Like they would have to know too many things. I don't know, like I might try your products, but I don't know that I could do the business because you just wrote me a chapter about gut biome and I'd never even heard of that word before. Okay, so let's push all that to the side. And I want to tell you, if you're brave, like I'm going to be, if you decide you're going to step into courage, which is what I'm going to encourage tonight, I'm going to encourage everybody to go back to being, and this is so cautionary that I say this, but less professional and more authentic. I realize that that people connect with me on a different level when I just talk to them very plain. When I tell them I don't know something when I don't. When I'm inviting someone, if I say something like, hey, there's a thing coming up on Thursday night that's in a Facebook group. And you, even if you hate being added to those things, if you would let me add you to it, and then literally you can click around and use the search bar, I think there will be something in there that will resonate with you about what you've been dealing with. I've been following your posts. I see what you've been talking about your health. And the only confidence that I can muster up in inviting you to this group is the strength of a money back guarantee, because that's how I started. Started with, well, if I don't like it, I'll get my money back kind of deal. And for some reason, that really resonates with people. I did a lot of research recently from some of the political stuff that I've been following. Somebody sent me an article that had to do with the FBI of all things. I'm probably going to get flagged on YouTube for saying that word, but oh well. With the I want to call them the FIBs. That's funny, right? I was studying some of their tactics. I wasn't meaning to study it. I just opened an article and I was like, okay, they're talking about the hemispheres of the brain, okay, and how the different hemispheres of the brain, how what your left brain does. And if you've ever taken one of my breakthrough trainings, you know this, because you may not remember it until I start talking about it, but the left part of your brain is given to you. This is my paraphrasing of how I understand it. Not a doctor. I'm just going to tell you what I think. So the left part of your brain, left hemisphere of your brain, or when you say someone is left brain, when your spirit becomes incarnate and becomes part of a body, you are given the left brain to keep you alive, because a spirit, a spiritual, an essence of someone can walk out into traffic without getting hit, can stick their hand inside, I mean, they're whatever, I don't guess they have a hand inside a hot oven without getting burned. But from the time you're a baby, your left brain starts storing information that reminds you, don't do that again because that hurt last time. And so you have it for a safety purpose. I had a friend tell me one time, a really good friend of my brother, that he had researched it, and he was like, I think the left brain is like the antenna that keeps you, like, your spirit locked inside a body safely. So for example, don't touch that hot oven. You burned yourself last time. Turn this knob more and this knob more in the bathtub because you don't want to get it too hot. Don't walk out in front of traffic because slat. Okay. So you remember things, but where it can come in and be detrimental to you for the purposes of moving forward in life and coming to a place where you're willing to believe in miracles, for example, is it can also tell you, girl, don't take that microphone at the bar and get up there and sing karaoke. You embarrassed yourself last time. Ooh, good point. So protect myself. And then so that's one of those fun things you won't try again because you got embarrassed last time. And then also the left brain base, it's prohibitive. It remembers, it reminds. There's one more. It restricts. It keeps you safe at all costs, literally at all costs. Its only job is to make sure that you stay what it considers safe. Well, some of us have a stronger tendency toward that than others. Some of us have a stronger tendency to make sure we stay safe because we got so hurt in an old relationship. We had a devastating childhood, whatever, and we walk out life processes in a left hemisphere type of way. And the right brain is where the miracles are. What I learned from the FBI document is the left brain is the gatekeeper. It says no, always. So if you're sitting in on a sales pitch and someone's coming at you with all the sales pitchy words, your left brain is going, no, not falling for that. And wear the proud label of skeptical. I'm skeptical. But what I have learned, because I was kind of born, I was born way heavier the other way. And so I'm more likely to take a microphone and see what happens, or go live and use the word ass and see what people do. And I'm more likely to paint a picture just cause, or I'm more likely to pick up a camera and try and see what I can do with the camera. That comes with the right brain. It also comes with the messy housekeeper package, like stuff everywhere, like that, like I'm not scared of having a messy house, so to speak. Logic tells me it doesn't really matter, because that the logical part of my brain is not as active as the right part of my brain. Okay. I believe that's why I can connect with people on a level for health and healing, is because, first of all, my brain says, why not? I mean, why couldn't we have a miracle here? Everything I know about everything I know says we should be able to perform miracles. Sometimes it's in the form of like the herbs inside our products. Sometimes it's in the form of just saying, hey, I'll tell you a story. What I learned in the FBI document is that if you can get past the gatekeeper, you can have the miracle. You got to get past the gatekeeper with somebody. I believe that's why testimonies are so important. We will overcome by the word of the Lamb and the word of our or by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, right? Well, a testimony says, gatekeeper, would you stand down for a second? She needs to hear this. Someone else got healed last week. It's really important. Okay. You got to put the gatekeeper to sleep. You say, simmer down, take a Benadryl, gatekeeper. We need a miracle here. Okay. Well, the gatekeeper is more resistant in some people than others. What I have found in this business and in healing and in other things is the best way to put the gatekeeper to sleep is to tell them a story. Bedtime story. The gatekeeper is not interested in whatever. The gatekeeper is like, oh, here we go. She's doing some right brain stuff right now. Da, 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 da. Tell a story about this other girl who got well from exactly the same thing. So like, for example, Thursday night, we're going to have all kinds of fun stories in our event that are going to connect very much. We're going to have the left brain stories that talk about science. And then we're going to have the right brain. I mean, the left brain stuff is not really stories. It's just facts. And then the right brain stuff is, the right brain stuff is going to be people's stories. It's going to have pictures of the people. It's going to have their names. It's going to have all the things that happened to them once they started taking our products. And that is with the hopes of what I'm learning, which I already kind of knew instinctively, but then, I mean, if the FBI is backing you up, right? They're saying, girl, yeah, you got to put the left brain to sleep. Now, they were not using it for the greatest of purposes. They were doing it almost like a hypnotic trance to get people to be under their power of suggestion and persuasion. Suggestion and persuasion is really powerful when you're doing healing stuff, because if the gatekeeper is like carrying heat and they're like, nope, you're not getting through here. Because I've been to a church service one time where I knew that guy was a con man, and I saw him pretending to heal people. People were falling on the ground. Nope. That's a heavy hitting left brain. It's a heavy hitting skeptic, proud, label wearing. I'm just too skeptical to jump in here and believe this stuff. So I had to share that with you guys. And I want to tell you that I think we all know this instinctively too. And I've bounced back and forth between every aspect of this. I've been like giving people scripts and trying things. Give you a script, let you try the script and see if that works to invite people. For some people, it works really well. Depends on who they're trying the script on and all things. For some people, it's like throwing mud against the wall, and eventually you throw enough mud against the wall, some of it's going to stick. Maybe if you message 100 people and then 10 people, but I will tell you that your everything, the statistics go way up if you have connected with these people on anything else. Like if you have any connection with them outside of messaging them for the first time, if you have had a conversation with them on Facebook that has nothing to do with this, if you have run into them in places and had a conversation with them, each of those things is telling logic to go to sleep. Logic, logic, gatekeeper, go away, go away. We need to talk to the manifester, the right brain that says, miracle, boom, it happens. I believe that's why healers start out. If you ever watch Randy Clark, he's one of the most interesting people that does healing stuff. He always starts out with a video, like a 5-minute video of like, I don't know, 30 people it's a montage of clips of people from his previous services who've been healed. And he tells you before you start, he says, hey, there's going to be people get healed watching this video. What? Yeah. So then he lets everybody watch the video and he says, all right, if you just got healed, raise your hand, and the hands shoot up all across big auditoriums. He says, okay, come up here. If you just got healed, come up. We're going to pass the microphone down one at a time. As they tell their stories, this percentage more of people in the room will get healed. Sure enough, you start passing the blood of the lamb and the word of the testimony is walking away down the line. It's your turn to talk, and it's then the next person's time. And people are putting their guard down. They're letting skepticism go to the wayside. And that whatever, I mean, it's on tap. I believe healing is on tap. And whatever it is that's telling them, no, be logical, is less logical. When you just watched a bunch of people, the lady sitting next to you got up and she walked up there because she got healed watching a video. Does that make any sense? Be honest with me. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. There is nothing about the miraculous that makes sense. There's nothing about herbs that makes sense in science unless you really think about it, right? Like science tells you no, people don't get well from herbs. People get well from synthetic junk. But if you're science brained, that's what people tend to just lean into that until they see something different. And that's what we're going to show on Thursday night. We're going to have packed with written stories that people can read. I encourage you to interact with people on a very authentic level. If people ask you a question you don't know the answer to, just tell them, oh gosh, I've never encountered that. I'm not sure. I feel like I've seen something written about it before. If you have, use our testimony group to Google keywords. Like if somebody says, does it help with something like Crohn's disease? You can go, oh, I don't know. Let me look. Hang on. I want to tag you in something. That's the way I get people in that group on the regular. I say, let me tag you in something. I send them the link to the group. I say, click join so I can tag you, join. Then I add their name to a list because I need to know who all's in there that I've put in there so that the next time there's an event, I can tag those same people. Okay. I'm going to jump into telling my story. I'm going to tell it as quick and succinctly as I can. I'm going to do my best to tell it like I told it on Jennifer Leith's team call yesterday. When Plexus came into my life, I feel like that was like, it was 2011, like October. In fact, I think I ordered the stuff using birthday money. So I think it came in on October 17th. I had ordered right around my birthday. I didn't talk about it on Facebook or publicly until like the end of January of 2012. So 2011, 2012. But in that little interim period, people started noticing stuff. I bought it for weight loss, but that's not what people were noticing. In fact, that wasn't even happening yet at that point. People were like, what is going on with you? You seem different. My worship team, I had a couple people on my worship team ask me questions like, you're different. Something's different. So I'm whispering, telling people I don't want any people looking at the size of my butt and trying to compare. So like about that big. And then like 6 months later, oh, it's about, I did not want that. So I didn't want people to know I was trying something for weight loss. But I was experiencing like clarity like I'd never had before. I was having all kinds of stuff happen that wasn't very explainable if it was a weight loss something, and I wasn't at that point even losing any weight. Okay. So prior to this, if you go back like 5 or 6 years back, actually, if you go all the way back to 2004, I know where I was standing when I got the phone call that my dad was in an accident. Well, it wasn't an accident. He had a heart attack, and he rolled his vehicle because he was driving. And it was like my world flipped up on its head. And I had no idea what was about to be in store for me, because in the time span of 2 years, half my immediate family died. I lost my dad, my older half sister, and a brother. And it was unexplainable what happened to my brother. Now, my dad's not so much. He was a gambler, lived the wild life, all the things, right? He was living the life, and hard and fast, That wasn't completely unexpected. My older half sister also similar lifestyle. And her death was directly linked to that. But when my 28-year-old brother died, I went into, what is it, a alligator or a crocodile, whichever one that rolls, like goes under and just starts rolling. It felt like a spiral. And I was just like, I was disconcerted. I didn't understand what was happening. And I even kind of started putting parameters in place of if I'm next, because it's what it felt like. What if I'm next? So I had taken up a photography career. I was doing weddings a lot at that time. I really wanted to lose some weight because I wanted to be less conspicuous at a wedding. Like, I didn't want people looking at me while I'm trying to take pictures. And in the process, that's how I found Plexus. The person that sponsored me didn't even know they were sponsoring me, nor did I know I was being sponsored. I found a link, saw an ad first, then wrote it down, decided whether I was going to let my left brain be the boss of me or not. That I took 3 days to cancel the logic out, because logic said, girl, your butt's always about this big. Sometimes it's this big, but mostly it's this big. What are the chances that you're going to go burr, and you're going to be really sad and like confused and mad? And do you want to go through that process again? And my answer was, I didn't really want to. But 3 days into that, looking at it, sitting on my desk on one of 100 Post-it notes that I had around at the time. So I Google it. I pull up a website, turns out to be somebody's referral link, somebody's replicated website, but I didn't know that. And I started looking at their pictures, crappiest website I'd ever been on at the time. I'd never seen anything like it. And it looked like a local website, like Cable One or something like that. It was really bad. And the before and after pictures were almost too good, like they looked photoshopped. But I took the plunge anyway. And what I've already fast forwarded through some of the story. By the time my friend at church had started it, my sister had started, a handful of people had started it, from not telling anybody publicly, but only telling people privately, I was getting feedback from people that wasn't believable, but it helped a lot with my left brain, put logic to sleep. And that's actually what caused me, by end of January or 1st of February of 2012, to make the first post on Facebook. And I didn't know anybody that had posted about it on Facebook. You couldn't find it on Facebook. You couldn't find it on YouTube at the time. Nobody was talking about it. And I was like, I kind of feel guilty for knowing about this, because people are asking me, does this help with asthma? People are saying, should this make my joints not hurt? And I'm thinking, that sounds crazy, but if that's true, I'm a jerk for not telling. So I make my first post, and I posted a picture of my janky toenail, which had started to grow out in like 3 or 4 months. The growth was evident. You could see a line. And this was a toenail that was like a sick party trick. Like, it never attached to my skin. It was so candida ridden. It wouldn't even attach to the skin. So as it would grow out, if I would stump my toe, it would completely fly off of my foot. Lots of times I painted the skin underneath my toenail to look like a toenail, because I didn't have a toenail at any given time. And then it would grow back in slowly. Half of my toenail would be painted skin. Half of my toenail would be toenail. This was just an all the time thing. I had doctors look at it. Nobody knew. Everybody was like, I don't know. That's pretty sicko, girl. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So my sister called it a janky toenail. But as I posted that picture, my inbox just lit up. First of all, because I was being vulnerable and very real with people, right? People were like, can't believe she posted that, because that's weird, right? At the time, it felt like a very weird topic for me to be talking about. So of the first people who messaged me saying that either they or someone they loved had that same janky toenail, of that group of people, within about 30 to 60 days of me saying, you should try it, you should try it, you should try it, you should try it. I'm getting feedback that I'm scratching my head on the daily. People are asking me, would it help with this? Would it help with that? This seems to be helping with this and that and that. So I'm keeping a list. I'm writing down what everybody's telling me. And one day on Facebook, I probably should just go find this post one day. I took the list, just a list of everything people had told me: rheumatoid, asthma, acne, even warts. I'd even heard warts. People were asking me all kinds of questions. I'm like, does anybody see what the underlying, like, what's the common denominator here between all these things? What's it helping with? And somebody said, most of those are autoimmune disorders. And I was like, what is that? Didn't know what it was. And I start searching, trying to figure out what it is in these products that should help with autoimmune disorders. And what I discovered is plants, girl, plants, herbs, and they have to be, here's the thing I've learned about plants and herbs too. I have sweet friends who tried to replicate Plexus because they didn't want to buy it. They thought it was too expensive. And I'd love to have a couple of those people on here to tell their story sometime, but they go to GNC or the medicine shop or wherever, medicine shop or whatever that herb, places like GNC. That's what I'm trying to say. And they go and buy this, and then they buy this, and then they buy that, and they buy this, and they're trying to make a concoction that will help with their blood sugar, help with changing basically trying to help their microbiome, trying to help something that will help with their hormones, trying to find something, because they just want to narrow it down to just what works and not have to pay for all the fluff. And I get it. I've actually been that person more than one time in my life. I look at something and I go, oh, the active ingredient, and that is just blah, blah, blah. And I buy the active ingredient. Used to happen to me all the time. What I've learned about herbs, for example, in our Ease capsules, turmeric, however you say it, I've heard educated people say it both ways. So my understanding about it is it needs to be combined with a lipid or an oil, a fat, in order for it to be bioavailable to your body. So if you look at it and go, let's see, what's helping people here with inflammation? Oh, it's the turmeric. That's what it is. I'm just going to go buy turmeric because I can get that like at Ross. Sometimes you can find powdered turmeric to cook with at Ross. But if you're not actually putting it with something that actually helps with bioavailability so that your cells are understanding what you're trying to do, most of the time, turmeric doesn't actually help with inflammation unless it's combined in the right way. Same thing with some of the ingredients in BioCleanse and definitely in ProBio 5. Not to mention Slim. Slim is one of those that I've done research on and I still can't exactly explain how it works for certain things. I get some of the stuff about how it works for insulin resistance and some of that. But anyway, I started trying to figure out why. I couldn't explain it to people. People would say, I would share another testimony with all the trigger words in it. I'd say, another friend just told me this. And people would say, I don't understand it because, traditional medicine has taught us to pinpoint blood pressure. You take a blood pressure pill. That blood pressure pill, which is probably synthetic in most cases, actually supposedly does something synthetic to your body, lowering blood pressure. Okay. Well, this is working different than that. It's basically talking to all your body's systems. It's talking to your hormones in one way, and it's talking in which blood sugar and insulin, that's deeply connected to hormones, which I did not know before Plexus and before just doing research. And then basically how when you're taking the right things combined together, which looking back on Plexus's history, I can tell you with pretty stout certainty that even Plexus as a company didn't really realize the different bodily systems that we were impacting, especially with the triplex combo. You'll notice in the Beauty Inside and Out group, lots of times I'll post testimonies in there, and the number one question is always, what's their regimen? And the answer is almost, I usually don't post a testimony if it's not a triplex testimony. And I'm not to say that that's all they're taking, but in the majority of the cases, if they're not on the triplex, you won't see as many results as the people who are on the triplex. Now, they may have added in active, or they may have added in ease, they may have added in something else, but for the majority of people, that's what I see. So further into my story, I start convincing my sister, because my sister had asked me some questions. She had ordered it a couple times, but she had not stayed on it very consistently. Then one year, probably 2012 or 13, probably 2012, we're going to Thanksgiving out of town. I basically had a knockdown drag out via text with my sister, because she and I were both very much still in that place where we thought at any given time somebody else could die, because that's the reality we seemed to be living in at that time. And my sister was dealing with something that no doctors around here had ever dealt with, where she was having anaphylactic reactions to wheat. Now we would call it maybe gluten intolerance or celiac, or now I would deeply call it the stuff they spray on weeds is what causes this problem. That's what I believe, like stuff that's in Roundup, basically. So I guess maybe whatever is in Roundup maybe mostly impacts I don't know if it's a protein or whatever in wheat. That's something about gluten. And so if you remove the gluten, the Roundup particle is not still in there. This is one of those things. This is the way I used to teach gut health, where it's like, I don't know exactly how it works, but this concept seems to be getting people well. Same thing. So as I watched her repeatedly have to use an EpiPen, have to run to the emergency room in some cases to try to get well, she had me scared all the time. Now I'm pretty sure I can connect what was wrong with her to probably growing up around mold. Okay. We could probably connect my brother's death to the same, if I'm just guessing. So maybe we have super sensitive immune systems to that type of thing. I'm going to say we don't, because I don't like speaking things over myself, but you're not really supposed to be like, mold is something that people are supposed to react to. And I think some people react more dramatically than others. And in the most cases, what I see is most people don't know that it's mold that's causing it. For example, I'm just going to be as bold as to say that I believe sometimes what we label as cancer, for example, is probably either caused by or misdiagnosed fungal infection. I don't really know. I haven't been able to figure out whether they scan it and it looks the same on a scan, because I know for a fact that when I started Plexus, the image that when you would type in and Wikipedia would pull up an article, if you typed in Crohn's disease, if you typed in candida in the gut, or if you typed in colon cancer, it all pulled up the same stock image, the exact same colon with this white stuff in it. And in those instances, I was like, why do they use the same picture for all of those? And then I learned about Crohn's disease from a doctor, that Crohn's disease is a pile that they put you in if they basically have ruled out diverticulitis, they rule out diverticulosis, they rule out irritable bowel and some other things. And they're like, if they still don't really have a strong diagnosis, they put you in the Crohn's disease category. So basically people who have that, whose stock photo looks exactly like candida in the gut, or also looks exactly like colon cancer, according to the Google images. I don't know if maybe something shows up on a scan that doctors can't discern between the two. I don't know if that's true. Or I don't know if it might be something more along the lines of, I just know that sometimes when people treat something as though it's a fungal infection, rather than treating it like it's candida, they get well. So, my sister's story. I believe if she had left hers unchecked, there's no telling what could have happened, because when you say anaphylactic, if those of you who don't know what that means, her throat would start to swell shut. So when we would go to a Mexican restaurant, we would have to make sure they have stern orders. Please, or any restaurant. Mexican was one of the few places that she seemed to be able to eat because she could get corn tortillas. But we would tell them, please don't stir anything like gravy, for chicken strips or something. Don't stir anything and then use it in the in the queso or something like that. It's super important not to cross contaminate. Please understand, this is like life or death. And we found out that even if the corn tortillas and the wheat and the flour tortillas actually touched each other, she wouldn't be, if she ate a corn tortilla that had touched a flour tortilla, it would make her stomach hurt and make her wheeze. That wasn't strong enough actually to cause her to need an EpiPen. But there were instances, and I've actually told this story a few times, but I don't tell it all the time. But my sister was able to tell what that not only was she reacting to it if she ate it, she would also react to her husband relationally if he ate it. And so she said it was like being on fire. Her body absolutely couldn't tolerate it no matter what. And so back to that Thanksgiving where we have like a texting war, and I'm just like trying to help her so much, and I'm like throwing science at her, and she's like, basically my husband goes, she's rebelling against you. And I was like, what? He's like, no, seriously, I've seen it. She does it to you and your mom. Whatever you say, she turns polar opposite and marches the other direction. And I'm like, shoot, you don't think so? I was like, I can't like risk her life on that notion. He said, I think if you just tell her you're not going to bother her anymore about it, that she needs to worry about her own self, she'll do what she needs to do. So I didn't have any choice left. She was basically so mad at me. She was cussing me in text message because I wouldn't leave her alone. And she had swapped out gluten. She had swapped out flour for a sugar addiction because she's like sad. I would have been too, right? And so I was like, you are going to have to do this, this, this. And she's like, no, I don't have to do anything. Well, I ended up texting her and saying, mom will kill us if we're fighting at Christmas time. So I'm going to butt out. I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to let you handle you, blah, blah, blah. Well, he was right. She immediately was like, uh-oh, crap. Nobody's worried about me but me. She didn't tell anybody, but she started the products. She got off sugar. And it took, after 7 years of anaphylactic reactions to wheat, she, in 1 month, she's at Christmas time, she saw her husband sneak and eat a cinnamon roll. She caught him doing it. But she already was having other things that felt like she was well. She was like feeling better all the time. So she decided to use him as a test, because at least those were not anaphylactic reactions. Like that was just like fire, crotch fire. So she decides to, by the way, as I'm telling this story, do you feel your left brain going, right? Like the belief is rising up, because even if you know the story, it's such a remarkable story. So she tests it that way. She has no reaction. So she gets really excited. She calls me and she's like, you're not going to believe this. This is what's happened. We're headed to Taco Bueno. I'm going to have my first bean burrito in 7 years. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She's like, well, I did what you told me to. It worked. I think it worked. I think I'm well. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't. She said, we're going to go sit in front of the ER with my EpiPen just in case. I was like, you're going to have to call me like every 3 or 4 minutes. Like, you have to call me. So sure enough, she ate it. Nothing happened. First time in 7 years. I need to back up and say, we had her tested at every facility around and had all the results from all that. The most easy to understand test that she had. By the way, when I was doing my photography, the first real money that I made in photography, I set it aside because I was going to get my sister well. Took her to some crazy doctor in Oklahoma City because nobody around here was being able to help. Everybody was giving her non-answers. Like they were like, sure, looks like you're allergic to basically everything, girl. And she already knew that. Like she already nobody needed to tell her that. but nobody had any answers for her. So the one test that was the most outstanding and easy to understand was on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being deadly allergic, or actually it was 0 to 5, I should say. And she was a 4 on dozens of foods and common allergens. She was a 5 on wheat. But like I'm talking about stuff like bananas and strawberries and eggs and that kind of thing. She was a 4 on all of those, a bunch of those. So as you can imagine, her stomach was hurting all the time. All the time she was having stomach problems because of her body rejecting anything she ate. So to make my mom happy, she went and got retested after we did the like rookie testing with the bean burrito. So she goes and she gets tested, and the same exact doctor, same exact lab, same exact everything. She came back as a 0 on literally every common allergen. The only one that showed up that she still had any type of reaction to was a 0.5, which means half of 1, not 5, half of 1. And that was to mold itself, which you're supposed to be allergic to anyway. You're supposed to react to mold so that you know to get out of it. Okay. So my sister's story, honestly, her story and my stepdad at the time, his story probably actually projected my team to diamond. I'm not kidding. For sure got us to emerald, and that momentum got us to diamond, because do you know how many people out there have food allergies? At any restaurant you look around, more than you can shake a stick at. And it does not have to be that way. Now, whether it was true celiac that she had or not, and whether this actually cured, whether it was celiac or not, we don't know, because at that time they weren't testing for celiac specifically. I can say this because people have tried to educate me on celiac, and they're like, it's the little fingers that are little inside the colon, and they react to if you put all that aside and just say she no longer reacts, though. I don't know if she had it or not. All I know is she was having a celiac type response to wheat, which seems like that must be what it is. Now, interestingly enough, I want to teach you something really cool that I learned about the right brain in doing that. Sharing my sister's testimony. This is probably 2 years or so into my Plexus career that this shook down like it did, or a year and a half, something like that. And countless people already on my team, already using those same products, who had, and not just on my team, on other people's teams, because I had started doing YouTube videos, and at that time there wasn't Facebook Live, if I'm remembering right, but I was putting stuff out there for my team. I was making videos, sharing the link into my team page, but other people were following my YouTube channel too. And I was telling that story, and I can't count how many people who had already been on the triplex and their food allergy didn't go away. Follow what I'm about to say. But they read my sister's testimony, and then it did go away. Same with my stepdad's RA testimony. Okay. They had the block up. They're like, yeah, I'm going to lose myself a little bit of weight. Nothing else going to happen because I'm too smart to let anything else happen. Logic. They literally had their block up. They had the guard blocking the miracle. Like the guard on the left-hand side, making sure that right-hand side does not let a miracle come in, because that'd be too much for logic, right? I remember distinctly the first message that I got. A girl on this team, she goes, so weird. I've been on the triplex for a long time, and I'm still allergic to something. I think she had several things, but one was citrus. And I said, oh, girl, I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what to say. I've had 5 people today tell me that it worked for them. Well, okay, whatever was flying her sleigh at that time, just 5 more people, not just your sister. So it's not a one-off. And within a few weeks, this is the part that I remember. She messages me back. She's like, you're not going to believe this. my food allergy went away. And I'm like, what? Like I did at that time, I tell it now like, duh. But at that time, it made no sense to me at all. I was like, what? That's crazy. Also, the same thing with the rheumatoid arthritis testimony. I'll tell that one very briefly because it's a really long one, but I'll make it very short. He had the most progressive kind of rheumatoid arthritis, the kind that the meds that you have to take eventually wear your liver out. And he was on those meds, and they had given him a short amount of time left before he'd either need a liver transplant or whatever. Okay. So I concocted a plan with him, and I had to overcome his left brain. Now I realize I'm like, I really, really think if you try this and then you also try to eliminate, because some of the inflammatory foods are super bad if you have a really bad case of rheumatoid arthritis. So he did the things, and he had also lab results too. That always helps the slay fly when people know there were lab results and then he overcame their lab results. He had lab results, even though his symptoms had gone away from this disease that supposedly could only get worse. The doctor that ran the tests was like, I've never seen this happen before, where you come in and you don't need any help anymore. Like he wasn't needing his pain pills anymore. He wasn't needing the methotrexate anymore. And he's like, I want to do this again. So he ran labs on him, and he's like, okay, I've never seen this. It's not in your blood anymore. Like a severe case like you had, now it's not in your blood anymore. Now, people can go into remission from certain, different kinds of diseases. But this doctor told him he'd never seen it with as progressive as he was, because basically they had him on steroids all the time, which steroids actually kill your immune system. That's what they're designed for. That's not a secret in case you have never heard that before. Steroids are immunosuppressants. Their job is to suppress your immune system so that your body quits telling you that something is wrong. Okay. So his results came back that he doesn't even have it in his blood anymore. With that testimony, the same exact thing happened to multiple people who started on Plexus Triplex to lose some weight and didn't anticipate anything happening with the rest of their body. But after they read his testimony, it turned on their anticipator. And by turning on the anticipator, we had thousands of people, messages after messages after messages telling me that people got well. Some people on our team, some people not on our team. Now, you may be watching this video. If you're watching it after the fact, most of you know these stories. But if you're watching this as a video and you didn't know these stories, you may be wondering how on earth that happens. And all I can tell you is the only way to truly get well from anything is if your immune system does it for you. Anything that gets you well that's not your immune system didn't actually get you well. It just hit a symptom, like a steroid. A steroid can come in and get rid of a rash. It's like, oh, the rash is gone. You quit taking that steroid, and immediately your immune system will kick back in and start trying to get rid of whatever's wrong on the inside, and it's showing up as a rash. The rash is the alarm. The rash is just telling you, you have a problem internally. You have a problem in the gut. You need to balance your microbiome. You've probably taken an antibiotic. So when you see people with eczema and psoriasis and all these kind of things, and they take an immunosuppressant, which is a steroid, the rash goes away, but now they've killed their immune system. And that's a gamble that lots of doctors apparently are willing to take with their patients rather than increase the immune system. It's the same way they treat cancer too. They turn off the immune system. Okay. I'm always hesitant to talk so frankly about this stuff, but I say I used to be very hesitant to talk frankly about this stuff, but I'm just so tired of watching people suffer when they don't have to. So the majority of what they do for cancer, for example, is turn the immune system off. And then you basically set yourself up to where the immune system is not able to even get rid of even the tiniest things. That's why they isolate people. They make sure that they're in a bubble. They don't want anybody to be in contact with anybody that's sick, because they don't have a natural defense system any longer, because they've turned it off with what they've done. So if you give your immune system the right nutrition in the form of eating better and in the form of the right plants, herbs, God-given things that are to keep us well, but have been basically hidden from us by what we call science. If you give your immune system the right things, your body is able to do what it was intended to do in the first place. And I can tell you that fruit roll-ups are not fruit. Most food that comes in a can is over-processed. If you shop the interior of your grocery store, those are mostly carcinogens. If you shop the exterior of your grocery store, especially if you can stay within the organic, that's where you find the foods that seem to be less inflammatory. They're fresh. They have to be refrigerated. Those are the types of things that have grown in the ground. And plants actually have something sort of like a brain. If they've grown in the ground and learned as they made roots and learned as they formed how to withstand or overcome the bacteria in dirt, and the brain that's inside that vegetable, you eat it. It knows how to overcome the bacteria in the dirt. It knows how to overcome bacteria. It knows how to overcome fungal infections. It knows how to it's antimicrobial, antiseptic, anti all the things, anti-inflammatory. Most vegetables, we kind of know which ones are not, but the majority of the good vegetables for you, especially if they're grown organically without a bunch of chemicals and stuff, those are the very best for keeping your immune system healthy. And then basically what you're getting in Plexus products and in other types of things that are intended to keep you well, what you get in those things is basically concentrate, power-packed dosage every day that you're taking of the similar things to what you'd get in these days. Vegetables are not what they once were, because most of the time they're not grown in mineral-rich soil. They're not watered with mineral-rich water. They're mostly watered with like chlorine and fluoride water for the most part. But as you are basically taking these supplements, you are helping your body overcome the nastiness in the air, the nastiness in our foods, and basically the junk that plagues our immune system. One of the main things that plagues the immune system is Candida. It causes fungal infections. One of the other main things that causes the immune system to shut down on you is, while it also is a life-saving thing in certain instances, but antibiotics. I was on a low dose everyday antibiotic when I was a kid for acne at the time, and kept my face nice and clear. But also I didn't know that every single day I was taking a dose of turn the immune system, because it was basically, antibiotics are not immunosuppressants, but they basically establish an environment in your gut where your immune system is, to where Candida thrives, and a fungal infection will take over your immune system, and all of a sudden it's the boss, it's what has the muscle, and your actual immune system is no longer functioning the way it should. It's like crippling around on a walker. So by basically supplementing what you do, yes, tetracycline. Wait, are you saying that about me? Is somebody saying that about me? Okay, yes, it's tetracycline. I'm gonna read a comment that's it's like burning a hole in my eye really quick. I want to see it really quick. Oh, wow. Victoria, who is it? Is this somebody that I know? Oh, okay. Oh, it's you. I see your name right there. I knew it was Vicky. I should have known. Okay, good. Vicky knows what she's talking about too. So I saw the comment, but I wasn't linking it with the fact that your name says it over here. Okay. Oh, now I see somebody's called you Vicky. Yes, I was on tetracycline. They also had, I think another one is doxycycline or something, that maybe if you're wondering, if you're taking an antibiotic for acne, or if you have your daughter on it, I highly cautioned against it. It was one of the number one things that I learned out of that book, Recaging the Beast. Yeast was talking about anything that's a low dose daily antibiotic that people take. Honestly, for the most part, it's for vanity reasons. And you can actually achieve the same thing by making your gut healthy instead of turning the immune system off. Like I haven't had an acne outbreak. I can't remember the last time I had an acne outbreak. Usually it was when I tried something new and my skin is trying to figure out whether it likes it or not. Other than that, I haven't had acne since I started this. I also haven't been to the doctor in however long, 10 years, 9.5 years, however long it's been since I've been with Plexus. Nobody in my household has been to the doctor except for Jetty. Spider bite, fell on the ice, had to get some stitches. But those are not sicknesses. Those are like, do you know how much money we've probably saved just by the fact that we haven't had to go to the doctor? We treat everything. If there's anything that comes up, we try to treat it naturally, herbally, try to do our best to, well, I'm sure around here, I have to be careful around here anyway, because I walk in there like, people, doctor's offices around here. Somebody gave my cousin one time, they gave her a steroid for something that she went in for. And they said, "Aren't you Lori Harrison's cousin?" She's like, "Yes." And they said, "I have to give you this by licensure because of what you presented with your symptoms. I have to give you this. You can decide whether you take it or not. And do not tell her that I gave it to you." That's funny to me. This is hysterical. They'd watched a video or something. They knew that I'd be like, "Don't you take that? That's crazy." I don't know whether she did or not. She's one of those cousins that I don't know, girl. I don't know. There's no telling what she did or did not do. She did tell me though, so I thought that was funny. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I feel like maybe more will pop up in my head in a second. I want to run over a couple of examples, and then I'm going to encourage you more about the group that we're doing on Thursday night. We have a save the date for March 4th, which is it's another virtual express live like we did February 4th. Probably going to land on the same day of the week because February and March lots of times do that unless you're on a leap year because 28-day months, right? Last time it didn't last very long, but this one is going to be, it's like 5 Pacific, 6 Mountain, 7 Central, and 8 Eastern. You need to register for that. I believe, if I'm remembering right, Jetty, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you get credits in your Engage app to send out samples by registering for that. True? Okay, Karen says yes. Book club, February 20th. Funny Side Up, Rita Davenport. I actually want to do that one. I love her. Okay, that is, does anybody know if you have to register for the book club? Yeah, but register for that. We have an official rank of senior silver now. We've always kind of, did I say 3 credits? I can't remember. 3 credits on the save the virtual express. Okay. Rank of senior silver is something we kind of unofficially have always said, like halfway to gold is senior silver. They've made it official now. That's been known for about a week or so. Also, this is really important, February 17th. Of all the things that I have said, as far as announcements go, February 17th, this Thursday is going to be important because it's going to be our event. And then February 17th, which is on a Wednesday. It's next Wednesday. So I want you to make sure you register for that as well. There are several bullet points about what's going to happen during that reveal, but I will just say it like this. Typically, we have in-person events quarterly when we're not in the middle of the vid, okay? Typically, we have spring wellness tours where the executives come to places nearby and they do, like in-person opportunity tour. Actually, Super Saturday is early in the year, like first part of January, and then they do spring opportunity tours, and then they do convention and leaders retreat. So quarterly in-person events. This year it's been different. So the reason I'm mentioning that is because this wellness reveal will reveal some things to you that you would normally learn at something that would be in person. For example, a product. I think that they've basically told that at this point. I'm not sure what I am and am not at liberty to say, but a product I know I can say because I saw that in something. So I think we're going to be I think this team will be excited about the new product. Like we always are excited in some shape, form, or fashion, but we're going to be excited about this product. Okay. This girl right here will be excited. I already know. Okay. You're going to like it. So you're going to want to be on that. And I don't have the times on here, but it'll be February 17th. If it's a Wednesday, it's going to be an evening time thing. I'm just going to bullet point for you really quick. I think that the last 9 months has set the world up, especially people most of you would be connecting with. Okay. I think the last 8 to 9 months has set the world up to be skeptical about things. Okay. And that's actually probably pretty decent and fair. And so I believe authenticity is scarce and sales pitches are everywhere. Like you can't even scroll an inch on Facebook without seeing somebody selling you something else. And here's what it looks like. Until you click on the sound. But before that, they're just showing you what it does, girl. Then they okay. If that does the same thing to you that it does to me, you're like, ugh, get it out of my newsletter. Ugh. Like sometimes I want to fast forward to the end and just see the end result of the hair because then it'd be worth my time to watch it or not. Then I have to figure out, is it going to twist my wrist too much? And do I really want to listen to the voice? Lots of times the voice is surprising in a good way because sometimes you get the dingbat Janelle feel by watching it, and then you turn the voice on and it sounds different than you thought. And you go, oh, okay. I kind of want to watch this girl. She seems relatable. But if it's doing that to you in any shape, form, or fashion, you just need to know that that's basically how people feel about sales pitches. Authenticity is rare. People seeing that you actually care about them, that's where it's at. Reaching out to somebody with an agenda. Sometimes I teach about that because sometimes people, that's what they want. I'm talking about people as in we, the ambassadors. Sometimes we need somebody to feed us the information, and that's okay too. Especially when you're starting and you're like wobbly legged and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I believe that we're the culture shift into authenticity, and may our team be leading in that. Be authentic, be real, tell it like it is. People do not want to be sold. They don't. I can't stand it. Even being in what you'd call sales, I have people sometimes tell me, oh girl, I don't sell. I'm not good at selling. And those are the ones I get excited about because I can't name yet a person with lots of sales skills who's gotten on my team and done really well. I'm just being honest with you because this is about your health and people definitely don't want to be sold about that. They want to hear stories, maybe if you can persuade them to listen to a story. And I feel like I'm wanting to put out a vibe right now of just be yourself. I did a live a little bit earlier that if corporate saw it, I might get in trouble for it because I said ass. And I also said a lot of other things. I mocked the people who are mockers. But I will also tell you this, ever since I have been being very authentic and real, I have had more followers than I can even shake a stick at. Like I'm constantly going, oh my gosh, it's almost making me like, I wake up in the mornings and I have so many messages, I can't listen to them all. The majority of people, they either want to share something with me that they've seen that that related to what I've said, or lots of times it'll be like 30 or 40 messages, and the majority of them are sending me one of 3 videos that were maybe relevant that day or something like that that they want me to look at. Or sometimes I think that's the you know how you can click on a video and click the share button or the up button or whatever, and it pulls up Messenger and you can just go down there picking 20 people to send it to. I think that happens sometimes too. And uh the realization the other day that I had, where I was like, it's so weird because I gotta read a text my mom just sent me. Y'all ready for this? Earmuffs if you don't like the word. She said, I love you. She saw my live. I love you. I'm so sorry you're having to hear ridiculous from total idiots, but I'm so proud that you hold your ground like you do. I laughed out loud several times listening to you line them out. I would say that there were probably a lot of other people that did the same thing, laughed out loud because I was being funny. I was being real. I'm not telling you to go out there and make an ass of yourself, but I am telling you, if that's kind of what you do with your family and hang out and stuff, people are not looking for a sales pitch. People relate to people who are real. And so I'm encouraging you to be you, definitely not me. Don't be me. Be you and be your most authentic self with people when you reach out and talk to them. Tell your own story and tell it a lot. If you understood the Facebook algorithms, you would realize that the majority of the people are not seeing what you say. They're not. I encourage you not to use the word plexus a lot because I believe that that's one of the things that's set in their web crawler that looks for things to suppress the information, and they suppress it. So if you use it sometimes, that's okay, of course, but I'm just saying every time you use it and don't get any responses, it doesn't mean people didn't like it. It means people didn't see it. They just don't show it. They already, on a good day, show it to less than 20%, and it may be even way lower than that of the people that are on your friends list. If it takes off, like I feel that this video probably did, even though that's not why I did it, like I got a little bit hopped up on Mountain Dew, so to speak. If it takes off like that video, for example, and lots of people are commenting on it, Facebook thinks it's popular and they show it to more people, at least in a regular world before they were trying to squish all the truthers out there. So I'm just reading your comment, Becky. I know that's true. Does anybody, if you have a question, type it to me if you can. I don't want to leave anybody's questions out, but I also don't want to keep everybody on here a lot longer. I'll close this out in a quick prayer. And I will also just leave us with this one thought. If Candida holds the immune system hostage, and if you get rid of Candida and your immune system returns, does it not also stand to reason that the same could be true for like a parasite? And I say that not because of plexus, but because I'm seeing people use an antiparasitic and either protect themselves against getting the COVID and or I'm seeing them protect themselves after they've gotten it. And it's been remarkable. We're up to 112 people that are on my friends list who have come back and told me that within 24 to 48 hours. And if you have lost someone, if you're on this call and you have lost someone to COVID, trust me that I am as mad as you are about knowing that back in April of this last year, that's the number one thing that the powers that be could tell you is the food and drug people had put out a thing in April when they were still not knowing even where it came from. They thought it came from a bat. They were telling people at that point, warning, whatever you do, don't use an antiparasitic. Specifically, they were saying don't use the safest, most widely used for decades upon decades antiparasitic that we give to little kids to get rid of head lice. I mean, like it's the most commonly It's amazing to me that they knew that when they didn't even know what it was, and they still can't even isolate it, apparently, for universities to study. They still don't know that, but they knew back then. And then we had somebody standing up at press conferences time and again telling us, hey, I'm hearing that this antiparasitic works. And then he gets mocked. Mocked and mocked and mocked and mocked and mocked. And I believe that those people should now be what you would consider complicit in murder. If they knowingly, and then the death count, they're like, oh, that administration, the death count is up this high. It's all over Twitter. Anytime anybody says anything positive about the X administration, I'm going to call it that loosely. Anytime anybody says anything positive, they come in there and like, well, the death count. And I'm like, he tried to tell us. He tried to tell us exactly what worked. And he got mocked by the powers that be. So I don't think you can really count those death counts on his watch. Soon as we changed administrations, the WHO, the CDC, the American Medical Journal, within an hour, y'all, one of them, CDC or WHO, one of them immediately flips. They're like, yeah, within an hour, they tell us, oh, come to find out this might work. New administration. That's interesting, isn't it? Also, the fact checkers have come out and apologized to the frontline worker doctors. They apologized after the fact that they let a bunch of people's grandmas die. And that makes me mad because it was all a political agenda. I said it from day one. There's some sort of agenda here. There's an agenda. There's an agenda. And they did. Now they say it's okay. So everybody, you have permission to treat yourself as you normally would. You're welcome. Now, don't get caught up in a hospital because they will still do everything in their power not to give it to you because they get paid more if you have it and keep it. They get paid more if you stay on event. They get paid more the longer you're on event. So, try not to be political, but y'all, this is, and it has been the whole time. And it makes my blood just, makes me just, I think because I've lost someone to lies. I've lost people in my life to lies before, and there were gatekeepers that we trusted who we should not. No, that's right. I didn't make this political. People who haven't figured out that we have viruses that are on election years. I don't know how they don't figure that out, but whatever. Willfully blind at this point, right? So. Okay. I'm going to close this out with a quick prayer. And that small little infomercial for ivermectin, which has saved a bunch of people's lives. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Okay. Don't let them take yours, that's for sure. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm. Is that Trisha Flanagan? Is that? I kept seeing that. I was thinking, who is that? It's got to be somebody I know. It dawned on me. Patricia. By the way, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. I was about to say, Father God. I decided to back up and say, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit in the authority and power realm, how much authority and power we have if we decide to harness it. And if we tell people to cancel out their logic, you don't have to say cancel out your logic, but I don't know how many people I have literally laid hands on and told them a story first, a true story, lots of times a recent story, sometimes a story of someone they would know, the girl that works up at the French Quarter, who has bled from the time that she was 19 until she was 36. And guess what? We prayed over her and she has not bled since then. Well, only once a month, like normal, right? Mm-hmm. Tell that story all the time. So we welcome We welcome you, Holy Spirit. We ask Holy Spirit fire to fall on this, what we're doing here, this fellowship of ours. And we just welcome you in to have your way, Father God. We welcome your Holy Spirit fire on authenticity, on belief, and on the ability to experience a life filled with creative miracles. May there not be a cancel culture on that bunk. Father God, may people put their feelers aside long enough to understand that they've been manipulated. I cancel out any manipulation in the name of Jesus. And I pray that people's ears, their spiritual eyes, their spiritual hearts will be open to truth. Only one truth. There's only one truth. God, I may your Holy Spirit fire fall on this team. Anybody who's listening to this, literally anybody who listens to this, may Holy Spirit fire fall. And may it just start a fire inside you that cannot be put out. Yearning more and more and more, just more passion for a relationship, like a communing, a true understanding of God, God's purposes in our lives. Y'all, sometimes I get things so wrong. So I've been known to get things so wrong. But then I come back and I say, God, show me where did I miss that? Like, what did I do? Where did I go off in the wrong? And he is so faithful. And I'm just asking right now, I'm telling you, if you are in that position to where you feel like you've messed up, you've gotten things wrong, you feel like you went, I just believe it's all for lessons and all for purposes. So God, right now I call divine alignment into our purpose, like the reason we were born. If you don't feel like you're living up to that right now, it's okay, but just dig into that more. Ask God, what's my purpose? Like, what is my purpose today? What am I supposed to do tonight before I go to bed? And in the morning before my feet hit the bed, what am I supposed to do where I can be more in touch and more centered with my heart? And the more I can cancel out anything that's logical that has tried to protect me in a way that I don't need being protected. May I come into alignment with the fullness of my purpose, and may you all come into the divine alignment with your purpose and your calling and your truth, God's truth in your life. May our hearts soar daily as stories begin to roll in with people we love, people we connect with, about their health, about their marriages, about their finances, whatever. May we be the light that shines into other people's lives. Maybe we'd be able to let go of our own bondage, our own baggage, our own trash, so that we can hook into what you have placed before us. And I pray that each one of you on here connect more and more with your heart and less with your head. Your heart is where it's at, people. Also, I feel like I'm supposed to say, if something pops up into your life that is contrary to what you believe should be happening, that you just say no. In the spirit, you say no. So, for example, if somebody's trying to get you to do something you don't feel like you should do, like let's say somebody has heavily suggested that you go get a jab you don't want, okay? If you want it, go get it. If you don't want it, then in the spirit, just say, no. God, I do not want it. I do not believe I'm supposed to have it. And I do not want to fall in line with it. God, I trust that you will protect me. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. They were like, yikes, I don't want to, but my job. And they're like, I'm just going to like visualize that as it goes in, it's just saline and and I said, how about visualize a new source of income? Come on. Let's don't limit God to just one thing or the other. Let's visualize a new source of income. Let's visualize a new source of financial freedom where we don't have to stay lined up with something that doesn't fit our principles anyway. God, I call divine alignment in all of our lives right now, and I declare and decree it from the mountaintops. And I put all of this out there in the mighty name of the one and only Jesus. So grateful and so thankful tonight for all of you. In Jesus' name we pray these things. Amen. Thanks for hopping on here tonight. Don't forget Thursday night. Make that your priority the next 2 days. Make Thursday night your priority, and I will too, so that I don't let you down on my end. Invite, and keep those people, keep their names so that you know you can tag them. On Thursday, I will put a post in there that has the prizes, and that's usually a good one to tag people in so that they know how to find the event really easily, if that makes sense. So, you know, when they've already gotten notification from around 2 or 3 o'clock, that they can go back and, oh yeah, I can find that group again because she tagged me in it about the prizes, kind of deal. Okay, people. Someone has a change of heart, they need to feel safe and safe. Need to be reminded that if someone has a change of heart. Wait, tell me, I want to follow what you're talking about. I bounced around to too many topics, sorry. Becky, okay, wait, somebody's unmuted. Nobody's unmuted, is that me? Okay, yes, okay, oh yeah. She's saying if God is leading them in a different direction. Yes, I think we sometimes get really comfortable. I don't know what that is. Y'all ever hear a weird feedback? I've muted everybody. Did it go away? Can y'all still hear that noise? Okay. It's weird. I moved this cord. February 11th. Ooh, February 17th, maybe? Is that what you're talking about? The wellness event? Maybe? I can't remember.
This Thursday's event.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Need to register for it?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm like the 11th. That's not on my list. That's on my list. No, it's just in the Beauty Inside and Out group. So just pop people in there. That's where you're going to put. Anytime you have a prospect, put them in there for good measure. Just tell them, hey, I want to show you some stories. I have a place I want to tag you in something. Send them to the link to the group, and then tell them you have to accept it. They have to click join or whatever, and then you can tag them in different testimonies. Use the search bar. That's how I usually do it. I use the search bar, type in what specifically they were asking me questions about, tag them in a few testimonies, and then for an event like that, it's already set up and they're already in there, and just keep a running list of people. To say what Becky, to go back on what Becky is saying, she's like, I think we need to be reminded that if someone has a change of heart, they need to feel safe in saying so. And if God is leading them in a different direction, whether it's business or otherwise, people need to feel like they are safe to say, hey, I'm rethinking how I felt before, and not feel like they would get an I told you so attitude. Yeah. Also, I feel like I think more people just need to stand up and say, I'm not comfortable with where this is leading. And then they need to be open to God. I mean, sometimes God really surprises you with the answers that you get. But Nellie, I don't know what her problem is. Okay. Yeah, the I told you so thing. I'm working on the I told you so on my end. I would never say that to somebody who comes with me with a heartfelt, oh my goodness. But I'm just saying, I'm having to work on that because I got some really harsh feedback the other day from local people. Okay. Anyway,
Hey, can I share something with you really, really quick?
Please
Just
do.
really, really quick. Okay. So, my sister-in-law, those that I talk to regularly know that she's had health issues. She's has a wound on her leg that's been healing. She's diabetic, and she was months ago diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. Her wound, this wound she has on her leg was different because they also told her that she had what they call calciphylaxis. And most people, I looked that up and it says it's morbid, that most people don't live for 6 months once they have that. So John was telling me this, and this was like not long after their sister Mary had passed away. And I really, we've just had so much going on. And so I started going, I'm going to start taking her to appointments. I need to know what's going on. Like, I don't understand why she's not healing. And I was looking up the treatment for it. And one of them was putting her in a hyperbaric chamber, which they'd done for her other sister before, but that was not brought up. Anywho, so we started talking, and I was like, why isn't this wound healing? Because I had taken pictures of the wound, and from October to November, it went from like a wound about, I don't know if you can see, about that big to a wound like that big. And I'm like, why is it getting so big? So I went with her, and they started telling me all this stuff. It ended up being staph. They had cultured it, so they had to put her on IV antibiotics. She's been on antibiotics forever because she was born premature. She's had respiratory issues, oxygen, all this other stuff. Okay. So anyway, I said, you know what? I'm going to just give you ProBio 5 and BioCleanse. I want you to just start taking it every day. And so she has. And she's been doing that. And I started looking up just the ingredient. I mean, like, I've been taking Plexus, but I've never so in the beginning, I was looking up every ingredient, but I had to be reminded. And I was looking up the grapeseed oil extract, and I started reading all the benefits. And I'm like, and every single one of them was addressed her issues, including the kidney function.
Wow.
So her kidney function was at 26%. Like, it was not good. Like, if it didn't get better, they were going to put her on dialysis. So needless to say, she started doing it. And then about a month ago, she says, hey, I had to get lab work for the kidney doctor, and they're impressed because my kidney function's improved. And I'm like, it's the Plexus. I'm telling you, it's the Plexus. And she's kind of like, yeah, So she had an appointment this past Friday. And she asked me, can you take me? I said, heck yeah, I'm going to take you because I have questions. So she goes, yeah, because I had lab work earlier this week. And so we go Friday, and I'm ready to start grilling this doctor. So I go in, he comes in and he says hello, introduces, and then he starts talking to her, and he says, well, I don't know what you're doing. He says, but I am amazed. He goes, because your kidney function is normal and you no longer have stage 4 kidney disease. And we looked at each other. He goes, what have you been doing? And she says, well, my sister here has been giving me supplements. And because I also went and bought her vitamin D. You're gonna make me cry, Lori. Vitamin D.
Sorry.
The zinc and the vitamin C, because like, we've already lost so much. And so I'm like, we got to get her well. And John's working all the time. So I'm like, let me just do this. And so anyway, she tells the doctor, well, she's been giving me supplements. And he goes, well, what is it? And I said, well, have you ever heard of Plexus? And he says, no. Of course he hasn't, right? And he heard me for about this minute, for about this long, because I start telling him, well, it's a magnesium supplement, it's a probiotic. And then I start talking about this. It's got bioflavonoids and vitamin C. And then we have ProBio 5, it's a probiotic. It's got enzymes. It's got a serapeptase for healing, and I said, and it's got an antifungal, and it's been addressing her gut. And not only that, but Gina does have eczema. And I told her that day, I said, you know what I've noticed? You don't have those flakes falling out of your hair. She goes, you know what? I don't. And I was like, is it better? She goes, it is better. In fact, my patches have been drying up. So I said, don't you have body cream? Because I gave her body cream. She goes, yeah. I said, start rubbing it on there. And she said, okay. So anyway, but yeah, he heard me for about 2 seconds, and then he just kind of was like, oh, well, that's great. And I said, did you notice how quickly he dismissed me? And she said, yeah. And I said, because stuff like this puts them out of business, basically.
Yeah.
And she goes, that's crazy. And so anyway, I forgot to share this with you on that day, but it's just like I said, we had Chris and it's just been crazy. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because I don't care what anybody says. They tell me that. I mean, and it was just those two, the Bile Cleanse and the ProBile 5 is what I've been giving her.
I want to ask you something. Does she still have the wound?
She still has the wound. The wound is healing.
Okay.
Wound is getting better. And we have done the ProBile 5 and the body cream as a paste, because this was another wound that started from the one that already healed, but her dog scratched her and it got infected and blew up. But this time, because of the calciphylaxis, it makes her wound hurt so much more. She's more sensitive. And I had told John, well, let's do it again. But the times that he's done it, she couldn't stand it. She said it stung really, really bad. So it's getting smaller. And I'm hoping that once it gets to a not so big and the skin continues to grow, and it's crazy the way her skin is growing, because it's like this big wound, but I had to look at her wound again when I went with her to the wound care doctor, and I go, what is that? And it's right in the middle of that wound was a patch of skin, just healthy tissue, just growing right in the middle. And it's just perfect little circle. It's just the craziest thing. And so anyways, but I mean, it's getting better. And so and I keep telling John, I said, I'm hoping we can do that, because we've done that before and it healed. That wound was on the top of her foot, right, John? Yeah, because he's sitting here listening. It was on the top of her foot, and that healed completely. Like it healed. So we've done that before, but so I was like, oh yeah, let's do it again. But she couldn't handle it. She said it stung really bad, but it's because of the calciphylaxis that's causing it to be so intense, the pain and stuff. And she was in a lot of pain, but it's so crazy because I asked her, how's your pain been? She goes, it's actually a little bit more tolerable. It hurts, but not like it did before. So, and she didn't like the Slim before when I gave it to her. So I told her, how about we do Slim and Active together, see if you like it. So I gave her that, and she was like, John usually when he goes home, because he has to go do her wound care every day. And when he goes over there, usually she'd be asleep, knocked out, because after going to the doctor all day long in Lubbock, then driving home. And I said, was Gina asleep when you got there? He goes, no, she was awake and she was doing stuff. And so it's just been amazing to see her and to know that on Friday they told us that she no longer has it. And he goes, so as much as I like to see you, he said, I don't need to see you for another year, just to follow up to see how you're doing. Yeah. So I was like, it's Plexus, and I want to shout it from the rooftops. And I'm like, I told her, I was like, that's a really huge testimony. Like, would you be willing to do that? And she said, yeah, but I'll have to ask her again to like do a post, but she goes, well, I don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to. I said, you don't have to. All you got to say is, this is what I've been taking.
I'd love to see that testimony in writing for the purposes of our testimony group. Carolyn, I can see that you want to ask a question. I think she may have a question for you, Linda, and I want to say something really quick, and then I'm going to toss it over to Carolyn. I want to say something you might want to do if you have any X Factor Original.
Okay.
Is, if she's still using the body cream, give her 2 or 3 capsules of it. I'm saying it doesn't have to be a complete order to see if this would work.
Right.
Where she'll open that capsule, and I'm talking about just a little bit, because it's going to turn it bright purple, like a deep purple. Put it in the body cream like you were doing with the ProBio 5. I'm not saying not to use the ProBio 5, because that would have been a great example too. But this I don't know if it'll sting or not, but there was a testimony back, and using that testimony, I've had multiple people have great wound care testimonies from some guy who did this, a doctor who did it like back when we used to do freeconferencecall.com. One of the doctors who actually, one of the developers of X Factor Original did a call with a guy where basically they told all the science behind it and talked about how it had to do with people who had been diagnosed with cancer, who supposedly were past the help of modern medicine. So they used those, a pool of those people, and basically kind of overdosed them, so to speak, on X Factor. And they had people, most of those people only been given 6 months to live, and many of them were at the 5-year mark, and so on and so forth.
Wow.
And at the end of that testimony, he told a story of a gentleman who had a huge wound due to similar to what you're talking about. It was something to do with an immunosuppressant, maybe diabetes. Anyway, they started mixing those two things together. And yeah, I was wondering if that transcript's still around. I used to see that transcript floating around from that call. Anyway, around the borders of the wound, so it doesn't have to be in the wound, because I know how bad that would burn, but around the edges of that wound. And it was a wound that had been there for like 2 or 3 years. And if you've never had a wound like that or seen like that, it's hard to imagine. But sometimes
Right.
people get a wound that just won't
Mhm.
heal. So anyway, when I say 2 or 3 pills, I'm saying one pill should do 3 or 4 times probably, or maybe even more than that. I can't remember, but just enough that it'll color it up real good. And depending on how big the wound is, go around the peripheral edges of it. I'm sorry. Okay, Carolyn, I'm going to unmute you. I think, okay. Can you unmute? I'm sorry. I think I did it wrong. Okay, here.
Okay. I don't have a question. I have a comment. I'm a retired registered nurse.
Okay.
What you were describing about that wound, that is the best, how it was healing from the inside there. That's called granulation.
Granulation.
And that is what you want. And it'll heal from the inside. Yeah, granulation is where the new tissue is growing. And as soon as you started talking about her wound, before you said anything about diabetic, I knew she was diabetic. I mean, just what you said. And I'm sitting here saying, my husband was in a nursing home and they neglected him, even with me trying to supervise. And he died a year ago because basically of their neglect. And I didn't have the money. Had I had him on Plexus, I know that I'm positive he would be alive. And he developed a wound that was bigger than a dinner plate on his butt because of them neglecting to turn him, neglecting to give him water, because he was totally dependent. He couldn't even hold the remote control. He couldn't do anything for himself. So, you know, when I hear these stories, and I wish now, I wish I was still in nursing so that I could get to more people, because I'm not able to get to the right people to tell them about these wonderful things we have. So I'm letting you know, anybody that wants to contact me, I don't know who, Vicki Gessing. She's also a nurse on Don's team.
Yes.
And contact either of us. I mean, I can give you a lot of support. I can't necessarily tell you what I've seen work because I wasn't in Plexus when I was working, but I know from other witnesses, other testimonies, I'm telling you, it's mind-blowing. So y'all are on the right track, and I was just sitting here thinking, praise God. because, I mean, and it hurts me that I can't help other people.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have to go find myself a good wound care doctor who will let me give him my information if he'll trim us.
I'm
Anyway,
so,
I just wanted to back up, tell you from a medical standpoint, don't let that doctor just shut you down.
I appreciate, I love having nurses on our team. We have so many medical professionals who have joined our team. I can say that,
Linda,
yeah,
I gotta find you.
I can say that the majority of medical professionals
Oh, okay.
have really good hearts.
You know what you were doing anyway.
She knew what she was doing anyway. I think there
Huh?
might be a lag, so I don't mean to be talking on top of you. I think there's did y'all hear like a weird echo or something like that? Okay. It's probably a Wi-Fi thing, but in case you didn't hear everything she said, somebody hollered because I was able to put there's a weird echo again. I was able to put a lot of it together, what she was saying. Is there a weird echo still? I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, I'm going to close out the recording part of it at least. Hang on. Does it show that we're still recording? There we go. Okay.